welcome Willem Dafo, and the conversation will be moderated by Jonah Nazaro. Jonah is the artistic director of the Locarno International Film Festival, and we like this series of conversation to be moderated by our friends who are artistic directors from several film festivals over the world, and today is Jonah. So please welcome Willem Dafo and Jonah Nazaro.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for showing up. This is a rather unique opportunity to speak with one of the most talented actors working today, who has an extraordinary filmography, and which is also a daunting task in order to where to start approaching the extraordinary trajectory of his career. We will have at the end of the conversation a couple of minutes for questions from the audience, so don't worry about that. And I would say that we start with the very beginning, because I feel that there is a thin red line that goes through the career of Willem, which is the theater. And you started with the Wooster Group in New York, and your whole life has been marked by your love for theaters and experimental theater. So I would really want to begin with that, because I think that's something that sometimes gets overlooked or forgotten.
Just when I started, that was really my identity. And I'm not one of those people that decided or trained necessarily to be an actor. I just went towards situations and groups of people, and that was a time in New York City where you could actually do that. So I went to school briefly, and make a long story short, I ended up in New York and started working with the Wooster Group, which was a small avant-garde theater company. And I was with them for close to 30 years. And that was my day job. And then I wasn't really seeking film work. I was interested in film, but that wasn't my identity. And I didn't know anybody that was really making movies. But then some people saw me at the theater and asked me to be in a movie called The Loveless. And that movie is interesting because it was directed by Catherine Bigelow. It was her first feature film, and she went on to become the first woman to receive an Academy Award for directing a film, and also was co-directed by a man, Monty Montgomery, and he went on to produce for David Lynch and also memorably played the cowboy in David Lynch's Lost Highway. So that was sort of the beginning, and I thought, I like this. I like this movie thing. I like performing for a camera. I like going someplace with a group of people and making something. So that was really sort of the beginning. There were a couple of things before that, but that's really the beginning.
There is, when it comes down to acting, there are different ways of approaching this cinema acting or theater acting. There are obviously very well-known actors that are famous for their extreme rigor in getting ready for a role. But sometimes once I heard Christopher Walken saying something about that. For him, acting is like playing what he was doing in his backyard, and that's the reason. So, for you, when it comes to acting, what is that resonates with you when you need to get ready, and how do you balance between this extreme method, strategy, and the playfulness of Christopher Walken, for example?
I agree with Chris on one hand. On the other hand, sometimes you have to prepare to, each time it's different. And I think you have to adapt your way of approaching things depending on what your job is and what the project is and who you're working with. So each time you have to reinvent that. I think one thing that's consistent is I always respond. You have to do whatever gives you the authority to feel like you can pretend, you know, the authority to say, I am this guy. And that usually involves having some experiences that give you a parallel history or give you a kind of investment, give you special information, give you a way that triggers your imagination, and you can kind of experiences transparent enough that the audience can share it with you and they can have that experience too. But basically, I have no set method, but one thing that is consistent and really comes from my theater background is acting for me is pretending, but it's also doing things. Doing things. That's the root of it. You don't think about emotion, you think about doing things, and as you do things, when you're in movement, I think the emotion comes. So, yeah, I guess the answer is acting is all kinds of things, and you have to be flexible, and you have to adapt to each situation.
Gabriel.